Confession. I slammed a kid's head into gravel when I was maybe 7. Okay, so, I used to ride the bus when I was in 5th grade, and in the morning, there was some other kids waiting for the bus as well, so this kid, his name will be Frank for this, was really obnoxious and annoying, and he would intentionally get under your skin. So one day he decided to make fun of my last name, which most people thought was cool as hell, but he just wanted to be a prick. So I warned him to shut up, and he just kept going, and kept going, so I calmly walked over to him, and told him, "I dare you to say it again." He did, and I promptly yeeted his head into the thick gravel he was standing by, and it wasn't like normal gravel, it was basically rocks. I felt so satisfied, but now I'm like, damn, I hope that's alright after that. P.S. I was actually 10 when this happened, so don't keep correcting me please. I pushed a wagon in front of a girl who was riding her bike down a hill. Fucked her up. She didn't pick on me after that. I was 7, she was 12. Got a new bike. Went to schoolyard to ride. Some older kid let a major loogie go on it. His next pass-by shoved a stick between his spokes. He went down head first. Left him there. No idea what happened and I didn't regret it for a second. Went home and washed my bike. Why'd you name him Frank if you never even used the name again? Lamau. So correction, this was when I was 10. Deleted. When I was 3 years old, I took a 2x4 building block and smacked another kid at my preschool in the head as hard as I could. When the teacher took me outside and tried to figure out what had caused me to hit the kid, I shrugged and told her that I wanted to see what would happen. I still remember it quite clearly. My mom decided to take me to a therapist after that incident. Turns out I was starting to develop behaviors that would eventually lead to being diagnosed with a conduct disorder at 15 and ASPD very soon after becoming a legal adult. 7 years old in 5th grade? Damn, I was in 1st at 7. Omg reminded me of my incident. I was in 4th grade, I'm female and petite, and this boy kept making fun of my last name. After a while I told him I'd beat him up if he did it again. He continued. So during recess I kicked his legs out and had him on the ground kicking him in the stomach till he cried. Principal pulled me out of class to ask me WTF was that. I told her that he wouldn't stop making fun of me and that I'd beat him up if he didn't stop. She literally shrugged and sent me back to class. That boy never breathed in my direction again. I think about T now like damn WTF I was so violent for a small kid. I relentlessly teased a retarded girl in the 5th grade. Finally she'd had enough. She grabbed me, threw me to the ground and punched me in the face. And I totally deserved it. Yeah, I remember a nursery going under a play oven set to get an orange underneath it. And a boy opening the oven door on top of my head and sitting on it. And I remember him just laughing saying, "Is it nice under there?" Whenever I see him now that's all I think about. I slammed a kid's into the ground and I thought it was playing. Looking back I feel terrible. As a kid, I smashed gum into this other kid's hair on the bus cause he was sort of a jerk. I didn't realize everyone's parents didn't know peanut butter would get it out and he ended up with a stupid haircut. I had to talk to the principal in order to keep my bus riding privileges. I avoided him until he ended up changing schools. Years later, in my early teens, forgot about him and was meeting with some friends to party. Well, he ended up at the party and remembered who I was. He chased me with scissors threatening revenge and the host kicked him out. Didn't hear anything about him for a few years. Couple years later, late teens, I learned that his foster parents were abusing him, so he said, and he was on the run. He needed a haircut to help him be less identifiable and I often gave my friends haircuts and was pretty good at it, so he was recommended to me. I made him promise he wouldn't try to attack me again and I had friends who basically told him they would lay him out if he tried anything funny with me. He came over, my friends were there just in case, and I gave him a very nice haircut and we talked about the irony of our past and where we were today regarding his hair. He became somewhat of a friend to me for several years after. Then he sort of went off the deep end and crossed a few lines with me, so I had to give him the final cut for my life. Haven't talked since. I hope he got counseling, but it's not my job to deal with that kind of mess. Life is weird. When I was like 12 I punched a kid in the nose cause I was upside down on the pull-up bar on the playground after school and he kept bouncing his ball off my head, so I got off and told him to stop and he said it's a free country, I'll bounce it wherever I want, so I punched his fat ass right in the nose. Vendetta, you ruined my life, you son of a bitch. Yeah, I dragged a fellow classmate down a slide for throwing rocks at me. Now that I think about it, that was dumb. I should have pushed him off the top. Reminds me of when I was on the bus in grade 5. Had a bunch of kids bullying me as usual, but that day they decided to ask me to come to the school after hours so we could fight. I told them that's stupid and they said I was a baby etc. for not wanting to fight. So I calmly remarked, okay, you guys wanted to fight, why not here? They then started saying how the bus driver is here and they would get in trouble. Midway through their explanation I already managed to curl up into a ball and kick one of them in the face with my snow boot. The boy went home with a big boot imprint on his face and his mom called mine saying she said I was bullying her son, so I said my side of the story and my mother explained how her kid and his friends have been picking on me since day one of school and how she taught me not to take their bullshit anymore. So I went over to his house that night and he apologized to me. You mean 10 to 11 years old? So, I have this buddy. He's well known amongst the guys for being really annoying sometimes. Basically, he's really fun to spend time with, but sometimes he crosses the line and can really get under your skin. He is who he is, and we accept him and love him that way. Anyway, once when we were in 5th grade, our whole class was sprinting down the school staircase to get to the playground. Now, this guy, bless his soul, managed to somehow really piss off little me. I mean really, royally piss me off. I was never one of the stronger kids in school and I would get bullied sometimes, especially around 5th grade. My bully is also one of my buddies now, so imagine everyone's surprise when I just sucked and they grabbed him by the neck and started to slam his head against the wall. That was probably one of the few times in my life that I really saw red. It took another classmate to come running at me screaming, "Dude, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're going to split the guy's head apart." For me to calm down and take a look at the havoc I'd wreaked. In case anyone is wondering, I do regret doing that. Should have slept with his mom and given him your last name instead. Smirking face, winking face, smiley face. JK. You told the bugger, he now has learned an important lesson in listening. I once lightly slapped a person in my 4th or 5th grade and he cried, which led to me getting a detention. I now live in constant fear as I cross him in the hallways because I am not sure if he remembers this interaction and he's now much duller than me. I did something similar with a guy that always tried to spit on people. As he tried it with me, gave him a nice punch in the face, yeeted him to the ground and pushed his face into the dirt. The teachers understood and I got away with it. I feel a little bad, but he really had it coming. I was like 8 and he was a bit younger. I beat a older girl with a stick because she was picking on her youngest brother. She was like 13, I was maybe 8, her brother was 5 or 6. She ran crying to the principal and my dad, who was her teacher at the time, and got me suspended for 2 days. Dumbass bitch. Had the most annoying girl in my class from 1st to 5th grade. She was the daughter of another teacher, always thought she was untouchable for some reason. When we were 10 she made something to me and P that I can't recall now and acted like I did it to her. When I was telling my teacher about this, I was so full of her shit that I just slammed the girl's head onto the wall she was in front of. I apologized later, but that moment of relief was the best thing in the world for my little self. So you're not gonna tell us your last name though? How you gonna do me like that? Anytime I stood up to a bully they just went 10x harder. I had a best friend whose older brother bullied me every day. I had enough one day and jumped on him and bit him in the shoulder. He came back and hit me over the head with one of those plastic sleds we used as kids to play in the snow. Standing up for myself has never worked, lol. So frustrating. I once grabbed a kid by his hair, which was extremely long for a boy, and processed to slice it with meat scissors. I brought them for art class, but I had a huge temper issue. I did it because he picked on me. The bully became the bully that day. And all of this was in 1st grade. When I was 13 I lived in a house up the street from an apartment complex that had a lot of low-income families. I went there to visit a friend and parked my bike outside. Came back out a couple hours later and my bike was gone. I searched the entire complex till I found a 7-year-old kid trying to walk it into his apartment. I picked him up and threw him against a car. His mom opens a 2nd floor window and shouts down, "Hey, what are you doing to my son?" I yell up, "I caught him trying to steal my bike." The mom simply shrugs and closes the window. I felt so bad after that I let the kid go and rode my bike home. I hit a kid in the forehead with a rock when I was in 1st grade after he made fun of my best friend. Maybe I've just been subconsciously exaggerating it in my head all these years, but he was screaming, crying, and his face was dripping with blood. They rushed him to the ER and he never messed with us again. It was pretty awesome. Hey, at least it wasn't an F. I beat up a girl in 4th grade with my shoe because the guy I liked / was dating broke up with me cause he liked her more. I cracked someone's head open with a toy gun when I was 8 and could barely lift it. Fuck me, I was a psychopath. This kind of thing is common for boys. I'm not a badass, was scared during most fights I've been in, and feel remorse for all the dumb shit I did when I was younger. But now, I wake up, put my pants on one leg at a time like everyone else, and get the feeding trays ready for the ones still chained to the radiator in my basement. Some girl kept making fun of me in high school and I slammed her face into the tile in the girls' bathroom. Edit. I cannot spell. I accidentally pushed a kid who's playing with other kid. They're playing a game where the other one holds both feet of the other and act like a bull or something, or like a lawn. The one acting like a lawn put a dull knife in his tucked shirt. After I pushed the one holding his feet, the knife struck somewhere close to his heart. I was so nervous that time, and seeing the blood and him saying that he's gonna die got me crying and basically running going back to our house. I was at our house when I hear this old country song and it haunted me till I was at 2nd grade. It happened in 1st grade, and even though we were again friends, the song still haunts me. But May. It's like 15 years ago. I was 6 years old that time. I didn't think I would do something bad ever, but I used to date a girl, and after we both decided to end things I visited her school for a basketball game against my school. I was walking out after the game when her then boyfriend decided to try and provoke me, saying a bunch of comments. I told him to back off several times. After that he said the one thing you should never say to someone, "What you going to do about it, bitch?" So I politely told him I was going to slam his head into a locker 3 times the next time he opens his mouth. Well, dipshit decided to test me, went to say something, so I took the back of his head and slammed his face into a nearby locker 3 times, then walked out of the school. I haven't heard from him, nor have I visited the school since. Also, honestly, I don't believe I regret it at all. When I was in 5th or 6th grade, me and some other kids were pushing a merry-go-round. Nobody was on it, we just liked to push it to see how fast we could make it go. This merry-go-round had tall upright bars around the outside used to grab and spin it. Me and the kid standing next to me didn't really get along, and at one point he looked at me and said something mean. I don't even remember now what it was. I pushed him, he pushed me, and when I pushed him back again, it was in the direction of the merry-go-round, which was spinning about as fast as I'd ever seen it. One of the uprights caught him and made a hollow thunk when it hit his chest. It took him off his feet and threw him. He landed on his side and didn't move a muscle. One kid screams, "You killed him." The teacher came running and it was a few minutes before he was responsive. I just remember thinking I was about to go to jail for killing someone, scared to death. He finally got up and wound up being okay. Just had a big ass bruise on his chest. Luckily they believed me when I told them we were pushing each other, but I never intended him to be launched by the merry-go-round. Bill? Is that you? My head still hurts. Once when I was 8 I broke another boy's finger by sliding on the floor and going over his hand with my foot, and I'm talking like his whole finger was bent as if his knuckle was on the wrong side. We ended up becoming pretty good friends after that actually. Ha! That's cakewalk, buddy. When I was 7 years old I stole my school bully's backpack and urinated on it in the school bathrooms. Upon his notification of said event, multiple people had already completed miscellaneous acts of indecency with his backpack, which still remained at the bottom of the urinal. Needless to say, his lunch was on the principal's salary that day. His name will be Frank, for this never says his name again. This girl was jealous of me in kindergarten at our insane private Christian school, and she tripped me so that my head hit a concrete curb square on. I was hospitalized and had a decent TBI, missed a lot of school. That crazy bitch realized she was in heaps of trouble for basically trying to murder me, but figured if she played the system, I was overtaken by Satan and have asked Jesus for forgiveness. They bought it. I ended up having to be her best friend my entire adolescent life and watched her parasitize my family growing up. She's a bodybuilder and works for a pyramid scheme now. But I cut her out over a decade ago. This one chick was always picking on me, and one day I had enough. She shoved her cousin into me for no reason to make me fall. Her cousin was a little shit too. I saw it coming, grabbed his little ass by the shirt and shoved him to the ground. She freaked and started to run away. She was halfway across the gym and I grabbed a hockey stick out of the play card and fucking threw it like one of those Naruto guys. It actually hit her, which surprised me. She fell and ran away. She never came back to our program after that. Lol. I have a similar story. I was walking home in my final year of school, when I watched my little brother run past me crying, and hearing someone jeering and laughing. I rounded the corner where brother was hiding and asked who it was. He gave me the name of the bully. I told my brother to walk on a bit to get the bully to catch up. As the bully walked past, I simply picked him up, and threw him headfirst into a bush. Told him to leave him alone and walked off. Watched from across the road as his friends pulled the bully out the bushes. I remember once in middle school I was having a great conversation with a friend and we were very focused in it, and a classmate came in and started trying to spin me around. I'm a chill guy, so usually I would roll with it and laugh, but I was so focused on the conversation he pissed me off and I started spinning him super hard. After a few spins I let go and he falls and hit his head on a metal plate in forced corner of a wall. He became super dizzy and went to the infirmary and then home. The day later he was fine but had a tiny bald spot where he got hit. 7 is first grade. What's your last name? From that title was going to reply saying fuck you. But reading the rest of it, good on you. I wish I had the balls to do that. The fuck does yeet mean? Incredible. If it was before you were 12 it only counts as silly kid stuff that isn't really important. Kudos to Frank for owning up. You just brought back a guilty memory. I was playing with a friend, he was so kind, never hurt, argued or harmed anyone. Now that I think back, he had a little learning curve, but we was playing. I'd done a judo-inspired move and put my foot behind his and pushed his upper body down with force, and he knocked his head off the concrete so hard I heard, and he laid there on the floor crying and screaming until the school staff came running. The real question here, what's your last name? Was it King? Or maybe Power? Personally I think both are cool. When I was probably around the same age, I was playing on the playground, spinning my friend's little brother around and just let go. He went flying into the ground and, at least the last time I saw his years ago, still had a scar on his forehead. That's actually pretty funny. You probably taught him a valuable lesson in foaming at the mouth to the wrong person. Or you just caused brain damage and made it worse. Lol. When I was like 6 I was playing in a park and some 4-year-old kept putting sand on top of the thing I was playing with. So I brushed it all off into his face while he was looking up. He ran away crying and I hid in one of those tube things for an hour, afraid that I would get caught. Never got caught, but his mom walked by looking for me. My sister slammed a kid's head into a brick wall at daycare. Her reason? He cut her in line. I think she was like 4 or 5 at the time, smiley face. I made a pencil disappear at a magic show by slamming a guy's head into it. What is her last name? When I was in pre-K, there was this one girl that always picked on me for no reason, and one day, I decided to punch her in the face after she kicked me multiple times. Found out later that she had just gotten out of chemotherapy. Then on, I felt bad. One time I punched a kid in first grade cause he took my spot in line. To be fair, I asked him nicely to move before I punched him. What is your last name? From what most other kids think must be pretty cool. When I was in 3rd grade this kid was being annoying and calling me names and all that, and so I got dirt and threw it into his eyes. And then a couple days ago, in 7th grade I cussed out a girl and her friends. /r/I am very badass. I kicked a girl in the face because she wouldn't stop crying. It was a vicious thing to do, something I still regret. We used to play soccer at lunch at a nearby park in 7th grade and it used to get pretty rough. I ended up breaking a kid's collarbone one time after I have him a shove down a hill next to the field we were playing on. Don't think I'll ever forget the little crack/popping sound it made. Kid took it like a champ though and kept playing like nothing happened. I threw a rotten egg to a bully neighbor's face when I was 9. He was older. He was vomiting after that stink from hell egg exploded on his face. I remember my mom disposed a whole tray of eggs to the trash earlier that day. Picked one and threw it, didn't bother me anymore since then. I launched a big ass piece of wood at a kid's nose and busted it ass and was crying on the ground. I picked up said piece of wood and whacked him about 2 times in the balls, then kicked him in the ribs open. He deserved it though. Took the piss out of my mate's mother. Cancer. I'm not even joking. His parents was obviously annoyed but was more annoyed at him for being vile. I think everyone has slammed a kid's head into gravel at least once in their childhood. I cut a kid's pinky finger off at the tip by thinking it was funny to hold the door shut to the bathroom on him. Hess, a 6 feet 5 inches police officer in my state now that I see fairly regularly out and about. We're cool now. I didn't know he would put his damn finger in the door. When I was 14-15 a kid in my class kept kicking my chair. I repeatedly told him to stop and he refused, so finally I turned and kicked his chair as hard as I could, causing him to fall and crack open his head. He needed stitches and got busted for drugs all in one go. I felt bad, but I did warn him. Story time. We were about 13 to 14 years old in year 8. I was having problems with a friend, A, and our friend group was sick of it. Two friends, B plus C, decided to sit us down and mediate a conversation/explain what's wrong. A went first and I stayed silent even though what she was saying wasn't correct. When it was my turn to talk I started and A constantly interrupted me. I was sick of it so got up and started walking away. A followed and asked what I was doing. I told her that I was sick of her interrupting me. I went to walk off again and A slapped me. Side note, I was wearing a tight headband that had teeth. Her slap pushed the teeth of my headband into my skull so hurt more than normal. As soon as A slapped me I saw red and started hitting her. We ended up about 5 meters from where we started and I was on top of her kicking and punching her. A was slapping and scratching me and pulling my hair. C tried pulling me off her and I ripped out of her arms and went back at it. Then C and a teacher tried holding me back, but I got out of their arms too. It took C and 2 teachers to hold me back. I was taken into a room and A was sent on her way. She went to the bathroom and scratched her face to make it look worse, then went to class. Her teacher asked what happened and A said Cam cause 555 beat me up. Teacher was like okay. My brother was in the teacher's next class. She says to him I hear your sister is beating people up. He goes oh, A, yeah. Teacher says I bet she deserved it. My parents weren't mad at me because they hit me first and they brought me up that if they hit you first you're just defending yourself. Also, I was a short 35 to 40 kilograms girl to A's average height 60 to 70 kilograms. We both got inter-school suspension. Recess and lunch were spent outside the principal's office, for 2 weeks. Okay, I have to say it cause I didn't immediately see a comment. How is gravel not like rocks? I once made this older bully kid at school eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, with the crust left on. Can anything be worse than that? I once threw a rock at the back of my cousin's head and tried to play it off like I threw the rock far and that it was not me who threw the rock at his head. He started crying. I body checked this dude, my age, into a fence pole during flag football in the 7th grade. He was the kid nobody liked because he would pick on you until you would threaten to kick his ass. Unfortunately for me I was the small skinny kid. Well anyways, back to flag football. He stiff-armed me but he did it with his fist so pretty much punched me and I guess the PE coach saw it and he said it looked on accident. So roughly the next turnover, he was running the ball and I targeted him and just shoved him. Nasty blindside and he was running alongside the fence and well on his way down he hit his head. Felt good until he started crying. Never have I made another person cry. He had a huge bump on his head. Ultimated I got off with a warning because I was the good kid with good grades and that was extremely rare of me to do. In the end everything worked out in my favor because I got to get my pay back, didn't get in trouble, and he never messed with me again. When I was 10 I kicked a kid off a school playground and broke his nose. I felt so bad I cried all day and at the age of 19 I still think about it and feel regretful. Would intentionally get under your skin. Yeet. One tough-ass 10-year-old. What was your last name? In 6th grade I was playing trust fall with 2 girls and it was my turn to fall. The one girl had to catch me but no, she turned around to pick up an apple. An apple. I fell on my back and half the class just stood there laughing their asses off. I was never really that violent as a kid because I would feel bad about it, but once when I was like 2 years old I hit my sister in the head with maracas a bunch of times. When I was like 7 I guess this kid fucking bit me. I'm not kidding you all. He literally bit me. I punched him in the face the next day and he bled. What can I say? Son of a bitch deserved it. This happened when I was 10. I'm 11 now and I accidentally got into a fight because the kid was a bully. I told him to stop many times but he didn't, so I hit him with a paper clip that was pointed up, accidentally made him bleeding in his fat arm. Also his stomach was bleeding and since he lied so much the teacher believed me. He also stopped bullying me. I have yet to tell my parents. The yeet ruined this entire post for me. Rolling eyes face. Have no guilt. Justice served. Why are you confessing about this? I did way worse as a kid. People would try to bully me cause I was in a fancy private school and they all knew each other. Needless to say I banged every kid who tried to fuck with me and I was in the director's office more than the class itself. I was bashing heads, hitting with elbows, kicks and punches all by the age of 6 up to like 16. This kid one time, chatting shit about my last name as well, He always does it, and I think now he was actually a masochist who wanted me to hit him. He said shit again, so this time I turn up to him and hit him straight in the abdomen, making him fall straight since he couldn't breath. Teacher was actually next to me and she was shook, took my hand forcefully, not believing what she had witnessed, and took me to the director's office saying I hit him like a real man and this was unacceptable when I was like 9 or 10. Well, it's their fault even now when I look at it at 22. Teachers will let anyone pick on you, but once you bang them, suddenly you are the one in the wrong. I never let anyone insult me or try to take my freedom till now. Better die a man than live a long life being a bitch to people. In this world no one will defend you better than you will defend yourself. If you tell a teacher, the other guy will say you're a pussy, and the teacher herself will think this and just laugh it up while telling the other kids to not do it again for them to obviously do it again. But trust me, once you hit the guy multiple times whenever he chats shit to you, he will stop with this and realize he was fucking with the wrong guy. Greater than I felt so satisfied, but now I'm like, damn, I hope he's alright after that. This is where we are different. There was this kid in my class who always tried to bully me. It's dumb as I was bigger than him, and when he went physical on me I would always basically kick his ass. So well, it's summer and I'm at the pool, and so it happens this little shit one day also came to the same pool as me. So we're at the kids' pool, water is all the way up to little above our waist, and he decided to bully me, maybe try to steal my toy or whatever. I was not having of that shit, so I pushed him as hard as I could and he hit his back right against the pool wall, in a way that if life was an RPG, that would have made the blow critical. The boy cried. His mom came to look after him, worried. I smiled. My mom smiled. I'm even smiling now. Justice was served for that little shit. First and last time I saw him at the pool, still saw him at school afterwards though. And #X200B. I got many stories like the one above in which I retaliated and hurt the kid, still proud of it 20 years after. In the same way, I have some in which I overreacted and I do reckon to have been bad, but I think these are the least. This is nothing, up. Are you supposed to feel bad about the things you post on this sub? Because if not, I've got some doozies, and I'm not trying to one-up you, I swear. I just think what you did was minor. BRB making about 10 separate posts of all TBE stupid fights I got in as a kid for free karma.